that ball game.
And here come the Pittsburgh Panthers, led by their 6-year head coach, Walt Harris, the resurgent, reborn, reinvigorated, and reincarnate back from the dead a season ago, taking on Texas A&M out of the Big 12 right after this. Look at the skyscrapers piercing the landscape on the other side of the Allegheny River. We are on the banks of the Allegheny and the Ohio. It's Texas A&M against the Pittsburgh Panthers. It's the Big 12 against the Big East. Hello, everybody. I'm Mark Jones, along with Coach Bob Davie. Thanks for coming to Pittsburgh and joining us. Bob, when you look at these two teams, Pittsburgh tied for the nation's second longest winning streak, 7 games in a row. A lot of similarities, though, between them and A&M.
Mark, count on this. The defensive units will decide the outcome of this football game. Some college programs believe in a bend but don't break philosophy of defense. Not these two. They attack. Last week, A&M forced 10 turnovers. Pittsburgh forced 6 turnovers. A&M has the wrecking crew, a long tradition, but Pittsburgh's building one right now.
Yeah, you would know something about that wrecking crew for sure. When you look at the other side of the ball, the glare on the quarterback is always so white hot, but especially so this week for these two.
To move the football, you have to be able to throw against these defenses. The problems, both Mark Ferris and Rod Rutherford struggled last week in the opener. And Mark, keep this in mind. There are 2 high-profile freshman quarterbacks waiting for their opportunity behind them.
Rod Rutherford, last week starting quarterback, threw a few picks, maybe one too many for his liking, and we are set to kick off. Pitt wins the toss, decides to defer to the second half. A&M will receive the opening kick. David Abdul will kick off for the Panthers. Back deep, it's Bethel Johnson for Texas A&M. Johnson joined by Carter. And it's out to the 30-yard line. Let's go downstairs to Holly Rowe.
Well, guys, you talk about a great Pitt defense. They were 7th total defense. And one of the reasons their linebacker in the middle, Gerald Hayes. Now, you might wonder why a senior, number 51, was just out there on the kickoff team. It's because he asked his coaches to be on punt coverage, kickoff coverage. He wants to lead this team in tackles, and he's put himself on every possible team to do so. Watch him in the middle. He led the team with 104 tackles last year, all Big East. He looks to set the tone for this defense today. A
true definition of leadership. That's Derek Farmer on 1st down and 10. Gets a couple of yards on 1st down. Mark Ferris is the starting quarterback, a 6'2", 212-pound senior. 28 years old, 16-9 as a starter. A look at the skill players: Farmer, Weber, Johnson, Taylor, and Carragher.
Mark, Bethel Johnson, back from last year, had a ruptured spleen, had 6 catches in their first football game last week.
2nd down and 7 to go. Handed off to Farmer, trying to left side of the line, stopped up after a gain of about 1 by Guzek. Let's take a look once again at those Miller High Life starting lineups. The guys up front for Texas A&M, a few starting returners should help out their running class.
Jamie Hightower started last year as a true freshman. The upside is enormous for him as an offensive tackle.
Going up against this defensive front for Pitt, a defensive front that might be one of the strengths. Harriet, Pacino, Stevens, and Guzek. 3rd down and 5 to go. 3 receivers out to the right of Mark Ferris. Out of the shotgun this time. Ferris, a little bit of contact, no flag, and it's 4th down. Torrey Cox, the defender on the play against number 5, Terrence Murphy. Take a look at the linebackers. All 3 guys returning from a season ago, Bob.
Gerald Hayes, potentially a high draft pick in the NFL. Pitt coaches actually think Lewis Moore may have more ability.
Spencer and Cox, the strength on the corners of the defense. 4th down and 5. Cody Skates is punting. Billy Gaines back deep for Pitt, standing at his own 22-yard line, and it's gained to the 20. Gain out to the 30-yard line, a return of 10 after that 45-yard punt. Rod Rutherford, as we talked about in the opening, the starting quarterback, a 6'3" junior. Last week, 2 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. It'll be first down and 10 from the 30-yard line. Once again, the Miller High Life starting lineups: Furman, Polite, Bynes, Slade, and Wilson.
Marcus Furman getting the start today at tailback.
It has been a situation where it's been tailback by committee so far. After just 1 week here in the early part of the season. Little play fake by Rutherford, has his man in the flat, but underthrew his intended receiver, Polite. Up front for Pittsburgh, they return all 5 starters from a season ago: Petiti, LeCarte, Reed, Anderson, and Morgan.
Talented group struggled a little bit last week against Ohio U, but the good thing, they play a 3-4 defensive team in A&M again this week.
Ty Warren, the guy to watch up front, along with Jasmine and Smith for Texas A&M. Second down and 10. They hand it off to Furman. Furman brought down at the 32-yard line by Terrence Keel, the strong safety. Let's take a look at those linebackers of the wrecking crew: Penwright, Morris. Gamble had a big week last week, and Honeycutt.
A talented group. A&M always puts those linebackers in numbers that jump out at you, not the conventional numbers you see with linebackers.
And this secondary with a tough act to follow, Bob Davie, this week.
Maybe as good a secondary as they've had at A&M in quite a long time.
Last week, each member of the secondary came up with an interception in their victory against Louisiana Lafayette in a timeout down in the field. Pittsburgh calling time. Field, first quarter action, 12:40 to go, just underway. Pittsburgh with its first offensive series, looking at a 3rd down and 7.
Mark, both teams faced with long yardage 3rd down plays on the first series. That's something they don't want to get into against each other's blitzing defense.
A single back set. Rutherford to pass. And this is where he can hurt the defense. Rod Rutherford can improvise. Flags down on the play at the 46-yard line. Rutherford brought down just shy of midfield at the 48.
Mark, you can see the difficulty in defending a quarterback like Rod Rutherford. That time A&M went to a matchup man-to-man defense, and you have the defensive backs chasing the receivers all over the field.
It's going to come back, a holding penalty against Pitt. Let's go to Mike Tirico in the studio. Mike?
On the road, Mark. Take that kicking game with you. Take the kicking game. That's a good sign for Illinois early in the football game.
Especially in this early part of the season when you see so many gaffes in the special teams units. 3rd down and 4 after the penalty. Fitzgerald in motion, the freshman. Rutherford looks the freshman's way, who makes the catch just shy of the 1st down. They're going to mark it at about the 39-yard line. Larry Fitzgerald, a 6'3 freshman, a true freshman, who the Panthers coaching staff is extremely high on, but it's short 1st down.
Mark, they are really high on this young freshman receiver, Larry Fitzgerald. He's about 6'3", 195 pounds, really a true freshman. You could see right there why Walt Harris told us yesterday maybe the best ball skills of any of his receivers.
Andy Lee comes in for the punt, averaging a little over 42 per so far. 4th down and 1. Carter is back deep for Texas A&M. He's standing on his own 18. So both teams punting after their first offensive sequences. Comes down at the 20, and it's bobbled by Carter. He pounces on it back at the 15-yard line. You just referred to the kicking game, but there we see another example of it. Got to be solid on special teams, especially in those first few weeks of the season. We're going to call a quick timeout. Be back to Heinz Field after this. Banks of the Allegheny River. Texas A&M and Pittsburgh tied at 0. It's just underway here in the first quarter. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie and Holly Rowe down in the field. Texas A&M looking at 1st down and 10 from its own 15-yard line. This is Farmer with a gain of about 2, brought down by Lewis Moore, the strong linebacker. And just a few moments ago, a little bit of a gap in the kicking game on the punt return by Jason Carter.
Mark, we talked about the importance of the kicking game, particularly in high-profile games on the road. And there you see R.C. Slocum talking to his 4th-team quarterback, Jason Carter. RC made a decision to put Jason back on punts this week to take advantage of his athleticism. They dodged a bullet right there.
2nd down and 8. 3-receiver formation, single back set. Johnson in motion. Ferris has time, finds his tight end. That's Greg Porter. Out to the 28-yard line. That's a 1st down. He's brought down by Tez Morris, but it's 6'5", 230. Porter, the baseball player, a big target, Bob.
Greg Porter is an outstanding player. He's a bit of a tweener between a tight end and a wide receiver. He's really difficult to cover on short passing downs. Here you see him isolate him right there on the linebacker. Mark Ferris makes a great throw. That has to give him confidence early in the football game to convert.
Porter, a member of the Anaheim Angels farm system. 1st down and 10. Ferris hands it off. They run it into the boundary with Farmer, and Farmer gains about 3, brought down by Brian Beinecke. Let's go back to Mike in the studio. Pretty good next week, Bob. We get a close-up look at Georgia Tech at Clemson. 2nd down and 5. Backs out of the eye. Farmer again gets some steady work. Has a 1st down, still on his feet. Farmer with a 1st down out near midfield and into Pittsburgh territory. Derek Farmer, the first true freshman rushing leader a season ago since Roger Vick in '83.
Mark, Derek Farmer is strong. And right there, Pittsburgh had a chance to stop that play at the line of scrimmage. They run the power. You see the fullback through on the lead blocker. Torrey Cox, who's normally a sure-handed tackler, comes up and misses the tackle. Derek Farmer makes a great run. It's important right now, Mark, to establish the running game. You see A&M and 2 backs. They're going to try to come after Pittsburgh a little bit.
That was a pickup, Bob, of 21 yards by Farmer. They give it to him again. Broke a tackle in the backfield, made it out to the 40-yard line. Farmer, 5'11", 192 pounds, a sophomore. Never a dearth of talent at the running back spot. Talk about Texas A&M going back in their history.
There have been a few great running backs at Texas A&M. In fact, we saw John David Crow just prior to the game, A&M's Heisman Trophy winner.
Farmer comes out and Oshler Fleming comes in, number 32, along with Joe Weber in the backfield. The backs line up out of the eye. And that's Fleming, who's brought down right near the line of scrimmage near the 40 by Brian Beinecke.
Mark, you notice something starting to develop right here. That time A&M came up to the line of scrimmage and went on a quick count to try to defeat the Pittsburgh zone blitz to keep their timing up. The play before that, you saw Mark Ferris at the line of scrimmage audible and try to check out of a play and run against the zone blitz. This is going to be a chess game back and forth between 2 very similar defensive teams.
The offense here looks at 3rd down and 4. Ferris threw behind Porter, and it's incomplete at the 33. Tez Morris broke it up. And it'll be 4th down for Texas A&M.
That time, Pittsburgh choosing to come with an 8-man blitz, playing straight man-to-man. And A&M actually had the matchup they want. Greg Porter on the free safety. Tez Morris made a great play on the ball right there to get Pittsburgh off the field.
And to punt once again, Cody Skates, the 6-foot junior, on 4th down and 4. Porter was a very popular target last week. And Skates hangs this one up high. And goes through the back of the end zone, a 40-yard punt, nothing on the return. Pittsburgh taking over on its 20-yard line when we come back to Heinz Field. Walt Harris, the 6-year at Pittsburgh, as we approach the 1-year anniversary of 9/11 and the terrorist attacks in New York and in Washington. And I think when you speak with a lot of the players down in the field, you get a sense of their patriotism as well. I've had a chance to visit with some of them as we approach that 1-year mark.
Mark, I don't think any of us will ever forget exactly where we were when we heard of those attacks.
No doubt. 1st down and 10 for Pittsburgh. Backs lining up out of the eye. Brought down from behind. A nice play by Jesse Honeycutt on the tailback on the play. Furman brought down for a loss.
Mark, it's going to be very difficult to run this football against A&M's front, particularly because they bring the 8th man, the safety, up into the box and decided to play straight man-to-man coverage.
High pressure. Is it one of those high-risk, high-reward deals?
A little bit. You have to throw the football and try to get a big hit down the field.
2nd down and 11 for Rod Rutherford and Pitt. Try to run the bubble screen, and it's incomplete, intended for Lamar Slade. It'll be 3rd down and long for Pittsburgh.
Mark, even though that was just a bubble screen, I think you could tell by the reaction of this crowd that there's not a lot of patience right now concerning Rod Rutherford's completion percentage.
You know, at some time, at some point, you'll hear the fans here start chanting Palco. Seems that people are always in love with the backup quarterback, whether it's justified or not sometimes. 3rd down and 11. Rutherford wide open out of the backfield. The 27-yard line is Lusaka Polite by Sammy Davis. And it'll be 4th down. It's 3 and out. And a good job by the Wrecking Crew defense.
A&M deciding that time to sit back, play 2 deep zone, make Rod Rutherford beat them. They give up the throw to the fullback in the flat. They rally on the football and get their defense off the field.
Well, Jason Carter back again to receive this punt. He's standing at his own 28-yard line. Last time he fumbled it. Andy Lee, the punter for Pittsburgh, standing on his own 12. In fairness to Carter, it's a very, very sunny day, and he is looking into the sun. A high spiral driving Carter all the way back. It bounces at the 10 and goes into the end zone. Wow. 73 yards on that punt. Bob, anything in the air that long should have a movie on it.
Wow.
Well, folks, tonight at 7:45 ESPN, number 19, South Carolina.
Both Virginia and Syracuse up off the tough starts, but they have a chance to play at home.
Get comfortable, get things done. 1st and 10 complete. Ferris into the boundary to Jamar Taylor, brought down by Sean Robinson on the corner.
Interesting story, Mark, on Jamar Taylor. He actually signed with us at Notre Dame out of high school, was there his freshman year. During his freshman year, he was coming back from a study session late at night, fell off his bike, went over the handlebars, blew his knee out, and missed the whole year. So just a very difficult freshman year. He decided to transfer to A&M and has had a lot of success.
Had a fairly productive week a week ago in their win. 2nd down and 7. He picked up 3. Ferris on a quick drop and sacked back at the 13-yard line that time. The Pittsburgh defense applying pressure. Postel, number 6, with the sack. And once again, it will be 3rd and long for Texas A&M.
Pittsburgh, the #1 sack team the last 2 years in the Big East. And here you see Postel, the linebacker, coming. I don't know that you'll see a football team all year bring those linebackers as much as the University of Pittsburgh does.
73 sacks in the last 2 seasons. 3rd down and 15. Ferris with plenty of time. Incomplete at the 28-yard line. It'll be 4th down, intended once again for Jamar Taylor, and Torrey Cox was right there on the coverage.
Mark, great protection up front. A&M had certainly had time to make the completion, but when you're in that kind of a long yardage situation, 3rd down and 16, it's almost impossible, particularly when you try to pick on a young corner like Torrey Cox, who has great ability to break on that football.
One of the better ones in the Big East. 4th down and 15. Much to the dismay of R.C. Slocum. Smart standing on his own 1.
Excuse me, you go back to the sack that got Texas A&M off rhythm and put them in a 3rd and long situation.
And a great kick by Skates to respond back to the 27 Gaines. And Gaines is tackled at the 34-yard line. Let's go to Mike Tirico with a Big Ten update about history and reputation for good defenses. Ohio State with their DBs in the last few years.
But you can't help talk about that freshman running back, Andy Mark, Maurice Florette. He is fun to watch.
Rutherford back to pass. Stumbles and his knee touching back at the 24-yard line. We're here at Heinz Field on an absolutely gorgeous day. A battle between the Big 12, Texas A&M, and the Big East, Pittsburgh. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davey and Holly Rowe. One more look.
Mark, you come back and look. Pittsburgh trying to hit A&M with the play action on 1st and 10. And really kind of a self-inflicted mistake right there by Rod Rutherford. You could see his knee was clearly down. And now Pittsburgh is in a second and very long situation.
Backs lining up out of the eye. 3 receivers out on this formation. Rutherford sacked back at the 21 this time by Randall Webb. 2 consecutive negative plays for Pitt's offense.
Pittsburgh comes back with the quarterback draw. It's a good play, but the problem is they run it into the wide side of the field zone blitz by Texas A&M. Absolutely no chance to have success on that play when you run the draw into the blitz. Randall Webb, sophomore linebacker, big hit on Rod Rutherford.
3rd down and 23. Rutherford trying to earn the respect and leadership abilities on this offense. Under pressure again. Nobody with a chance to get that, and it's 4th down. They'll punt. And you can hear a small smattering of boos coming from the stands here. Penwright pressuring that time.
Mark, something you see as this game develops. If A&M can get pressure with their 4-man rush, here you see A&M's one of their favorite things to do, a lot of line twists up front. If they can continue to get that kind of pressure with a 4-man rush, Rod Rutherford's in for a tough day.
4th down and 23, and Walt Harris has said that he will get Tyler Palco, the freshman, into the game at some point. Lee standing his own 8. A&M brought some heat that time, and he gets up another great punt. Carter back at the 18. Carter dancing out to the 27 and a flag down back at the 16-yard line. A 61-yard punt on the heels of a 73-yard boot by Andy Lee, up in that, taking care of those numbers, that average today.
So much for the wind problems in Three River Stadium for kickers. Andy Lee has found a home here.
And a flag down once again at the 16 and at the 23-yard line.
Disregard the flag. There was no push in the back.
Much ado about nothing, which is exactly what we have on the scoreboard right now. We'll be right back. For the Aggies at their own 27-yard line. 2:29 to go in the first quarter. Mark Ferris, 16-9 as a starter at quarterback. Big 3-step drop, incomplete. Torrey Cox like glue on Jamar Taylor. Let's go to Mike Tirico in the studio. The pass was a bounce pass.
I've seen defensive players back the ball towards the end zone, never pick it up and spike it towards the other end zone.
And Farmer is spiked back at the 26-yard line by Sean Robinson. Great support off the corner. Let's go back to that last punt and see what happened, Bob.
Mark, we see something developing on the punt protection of Pittsburgh. The gunner, you normally have the corner out there to hold up the gunner going down the field. A&M has chosen to bring the gunner. You have no one to account for him, and you see the corner come unblocked and almost block that punt. Pittsburgh is going to have to bring their gunner back in to protect him because the corner's coming wide open. It's only a matter of time until he blocks it.
3rd down and 12. Ferris complete to Porter. And Porter chopped down at the 38, right near the 1st down marker by Shante Spencer, who gets the start at cornerback after last week making 3 interceptions against Ohio.
Another thing you see developing, A&M right now wants to get Greg Porter man-to-man on the safety. Pittsburgh comes with a zone blitz again, but this time they play man-to-man on Greg Porter, and Greg Porter breaks the option route out short, and he may have picked up this 1st down. In fact, he did pick up the 1st down. Great play calling by A&M right there to isolate Greg Porter on the safety, and Greg Porter right now is a huge weapon for Texas A&M.
Yeah, last week against Louisiana Lafayette had 5 receptions. Dwayne Goins now in at tailback. Goins is the guy who was coming with the pressure off that last punt. Almost got to it. Ferris on the out and up, going up top. Incomplete. Intended for Terrence Murphy, and Torrey Cox was right there once again. Boy, they're working on Torrey Cox, but having no success right now.
Well, Mark, actually, that time they went after Sean Robinson, but it looks like Torrey Cox. I think that's the great thing you see with this Pittsburgh secondary. They have some very talented corners with a lot of confidence. You see Robinson looking back at the football, actually becoming a receiver, going up trying to make a play on the football. A lot of confidence right there by Sean Robinson. And Pittsburgh's not hiding. They're jumping up there playing man-to-man on these receivers.
Yeah, Robinson building off the momentum when he had a great training camp just a few weeks ago. Second down and 10. Ferris. It's Johnson. Still on his feet. And has a first down at Pittsburgh's 45-yard line. Bethel Johnson, who a season ago was injured in the second game of the season and missed the entire year after that.
What happened on that play? Greg Porter actually becomes the blocker. He comes down inside, and you're going to see him in a moment here on the screen. Pittsburgh with the zone blitz, dropping down to 3 deep. You're going to see Greg Porter actually picking right there and allowing Bethel Johnson to go ahead and make that play. So not only is Greg Porter a receiver, he uses that size to actually become a blocker as well.
A&M putting its weapons together offensively after that pick of 19, a 1st and 10. Farmer back in. And Farmer is brought down right near the line of scrimmage at the 42-yard line. Folks, tomorrow morning.
Grew up here in Pittsburgh, and I've been across that Fort Pitt Bridge a bunch of times. But I drove across there Thursday afternoon when I came in to do this game. And coming across Fort Pitt Bridge, looking down here at Heinz Field and PNC, I actually got goosebumps. I mean, this is a beautiful setting here on the river.
Football is back alive and well and reborn here in Pittsburgh via the Panthers. That's the end of the first quarter. The Aggies and the Panthers knotted at nothing when we come back. Going to Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davey and Holly Rowe down at the sideline. Zeros as we get set to begin the second quarter. This is the second meeting between Texas A&M and Pittsburgh. The first meeting won back in 1989 by Pittsburgh, 31-28.
Mark, let's stay away from the details of the last time these two teams played.
I'll try,
because I had a hand in that last defensive call that didn't work out quite so well for the Aggies.
I got a feeling there's some video in the truck somewhere, Bob. I don't know. Second down and 9. Bethel Johnson split wide to the bottom of your screen. Ferris looks his way under pressure, sack. Back at the 47, Brian Guzik, the 6'2 senior.
Pittsburgh once again decides to lock up and play man-to-man coverage, bring a linebacker. As of right now, you see the linebacker pressure, you see man-to-man coverage in the secondary. Pittsburgh right now really has no fear. Brian Guzik right there comes late, almost as much of as a coverage sack as it was a pressure sack that time.
Yeah, Guzik, a Pittsburgh kid, blew out his knee as a freshman, a great comeback story, earned a starting job last year at defensive end, a loss of 9 after the sack. And flags down on the field, which gives us an opportunity to check in on our ESPN game track.
Defensive teams. But the offense is self-inflicting mistakes upon themselves. You can't be in 3rd and long against these kind of defenses. And that goes for both offenses. It's hard to call the play on 3rd down and 30.
Well, the defense getting the chance to just pin their ears back and come. 3rd and 23. Ferris for Murphy. Incomplete at the 10-yard line. Good coverage by Robinson once again. Sean Robinson.
Mark, you can see Paul Rhodes' defensive philosophy. It was 3rd down and 23. He decided to blitz. He wasn't going to sit back in a prevent defense. He went straight man-to-man coverage, put Sean Robinson one-on-one out there, and you have to love the aggressive approach of Paul Rhodes, the defensive coordinator at Pittsburgh. There's a reason they're building a great reputation.
Yeah, the numbers don't lie as far as Pitt's defense is concerned. Skates with his 4th punt. Gains back into 17 and met immediately as he caught the ball.
Mark, was it in the halo?
It was close. Singleton stuck him. He gigged him, as they say in College Station. A 39-yard punt, nothing on the return. It's the price you play on special teams right there. We'll be back. 0-0 on the scoreboard. Pittsburgh, Bob Davie, with just 2 yards rushing so far.
Mark, the best offensive play they've had is Rod Rutherford scrambling with the football. There was a penalty. Rod Rutherford is going to have to make plays with his legs for Pittsburgh to be successful.
Brandon Myree, the Alabama transfer, out to the 19-yard line. Let's go back to Mike Tirico in the studio.
Testing the Wisconsin matchup with West Virginia. If Wisconsin can spread out with that spread offense of West Virginia and be successful.
2nd down and 8. Rutherford on the waggle. Out to the 21-yard line. That time they utilized some of Rod Rutherford's mobility to make a play, Bob Davie. Meanwhile, on the sidelines, the backup quarterback, the freshman Tyler Palko, patiently awaiting his turn. He has been promised some playing time in this game. Let's go downstairs to Holly.
Guys, the plan going into the game was to give Palko a series here at the beginning of the 2nd quarter, but with their backs against the end zone, Pitt coach Walt Harris is holding off. Palko, though, hanging over his shoulder, watching every play call, so when they do call his number, he'll be ready to go in and step in without a beat missed on offense.
3rd down and 6. Rutherford complete over the middle to Fitzgerald, the freshman. He has a 1st down at the 33. That should quiet some of the critics here at Heinz Field. The coverage by Sammy Davis.
Mark, I think Pittsburgh has a great plan. They 7-man protect right here, and they put the Twins into the boundary. They hit Larry Fitzgerald on the route, but they kept 7 men in to protect against the Aggies. 4-man rush. They come back and hit the young freshman receiver Larry Fitzgerald right there. You can see on that one play the kind of ability he has, because that was Sammy Davis he was matched up against.
Fitzgerald grew up as a ball boy with the Minnesota Vikings. Been around some big-time names and receivers. 1st down and 10. Rutherford back to pass again, looking upstairs. And just overthrowing his intended receiver. Incomplete. Number 87, Roosevelt Barnes, and Sammy Davis was there, stride for stride.
Mark, the same plan again. Same formation as last time. Pittsburgh maximum protects, goes to the one-on-one coverage to the field and tries to get the big home run. You have the feeling right now that Pittsburgh is not really sure they can run the football, and they feel like they have to throw it in early downs.
At what point, Bob, do you maybe cut loose Rod Rutherford as a runner?
Mark, I think this is probably a good situation right here. This could be a quarterback drawdown, quarterback counter, or maybe even the option out of the shotgun.
2nd down and 10. Fitzgerald in motion. Rutherford passing, incomplete for Fitzgerald at the 37. We're behind him just a little bit. You know, one thing, Bob, last week we didn't see, watching the Ohio tape, a lot of carries by Rod Rutherford. Was that just playing possum until this week? You don't want to show too much, or what's your thought on that?
Mike, I know what A&M thought. Mike Ankowitz, the defensive coordinator, thought they held back the playbook last week against Ohio U. Walt Harris didn't say that, but you have the feeling that they have to cut Rod Rutherford loose and let him carry the football.
3rd down again and 10 to go. He's 4 of 9 passing. Under duress. There's some of that Rutherford magic, but not enough of it. Sacked back at the 21-yard line by the Wrecking Crew defense, just swarming right now.
Mark, you'll get a great picture here of how physical and how talented A&M is on defense. You're going to see Larry Fitzgerald again. The reason they do this curly Q motion right here is to uncover, is it man-to-man zone coverage. Here it's man-to-man coverage. Pittsburgh keeps 7 men in to protect. Maximum protection. It's still not enough. You see the athleticism of Rod Rutherford, but you also see the athleticism of that A&M defense.
4th down and 23, a refrain that has been repeated far too often today as far as Pittsburgh is concerned. And A&M, but they brought heat again. And it takes a good bounce for the Aggies on Pittsburgh's side of midfield at the 49-yard line. This will be A&M's best field position of the day when they start this drive. We'll be back right after this break. First down and 10 for the Aggies at Pittsburgh's 49. Weber, the fullback, out of the eye. They give it to Farmer. A play fake, actually. Ferris has a man wide open. And it's complete at the 14-yard line to Terrence Murphy. Man, did Ferris sell that fake. A 35-yard pickup and a first down.
Mark, a great opportunity field position-wise right there to take the play-action pass. But I think you're going to see number 19, Shante Spencer, slip and fall. It was simply a two-receiver route. Right there, you're going to see Shante Spencer. He slipped and fell. He was behind in the race. Actually did a great job of getting up off the ground and chasing it and keeping it from being a touchdown.
First down and 10 for the Aggies at the 15. Farmer down to the 1-yard line, and another first down and goal to go for Texas A&M. A 13-yard gallop that time.
You are going to see the strength of Derek Farmer. And this is why he gained last year over 500 yards as a freshman. Just the simple outside zone play. He just ran people over.
Texas A&M's offensive line, a line that has undergone a few changes here in the early part of the season, but looking good on that play. Opening up a hole. First down and goal to go. Backside of the eye. Farmer. Stuffed right at the goal line and touchdown. He got in. But he pay a price. He got hit. That's a stick.
You don't need to talk about that hit, Mark. I think we did the right thing just listening to the sound on that. But Derek Farmer on the touchdown run. Joe Weber, the fullback, out in front. A great block. Give credit to that drive, though, to A&M's defense, giving great field position to the Aggie offense.
Started them off at the 49. Here's Todd Pegram, who struggled last week on field goals, but not on extra points. He knocks it through. The boos because the fans here didn't think that Farmer got into the zone. Let's go to Mike Tirico in the studio. All right, Iowa off to a good start last week. What about R.C. Slocum? 30 years in all at Texas A&M, 14 as its head coach. He was telling us earlier, the last time these two teams met back in 1989, they put the two head coaches as part of the festivities in a bull ring, Bob?
Well, we were down at the Sun Bowl, and they took us down to Juarez, and they actually had a bullfight. Now, I've got to tell you, R.C. said they were bulls. I really think they were old St. Bernards with no teeth. They were the smallest bulls that I have ever seen.
But he stayed in, right?
He went in the ring, and he did put on a show for our players.
Well, there's no backing out.
They were either German Shepherds or St. Bernards. I'm not sure which one, Mark.
Not French Poodles, you sure? R.C. Slocum, a real picture of persistence and consistency and a lot of the great things about the Texas A&M football program.
R.C. Slocum 29-0 against non-conference teams at home, but R.C. will be the first one to tell you only 10-9 on the road against non-conference teams.
Here's Shante Spencer on the kickoff return. Spencer found an alley up the sideline out to the 36-yard line, and let's take one more look at that touchdown run by Farmer, who had a little bit of help from his friend.
Mark, on the touchdown, you're going to see the fullback, Joe Weber, out in front. Makes a good block right here. The next thing you're going to see is Tyree Young, the nose guard, come and make a great stick for Pittsburgh on defense. The Pitt coaches told us yesterday if they had to go in an alley and we're in a fist fight, they want number 38, Tyree Young, in their corner.
I'd take him and his brothers. First down and 10. This is the Panthers' best starting field position of the day, and Rutherford keeps it on the option out to the 37-yard line. Got about 2 on the play. But in terms of total yardage, right now it is very much a mismatch in favor of the Aggies.
Mark, and I can see right now that Pittsburgh just showed their new wrinkle. They went to the belly option that time with Rod Rutherford as a true option quarterback. But it's tough. With the speed of this defense, it's hard to run east and west.
Rutherford really worked a lot on all the phases of his game. He felt that this is the year that he finally knew he was going to be the man at quarterback, and he prepared in such a way. Down in 9. Brandon Myree, the Alabama transfer, out near the 40. Folks, tonight at 7:45 Eastern on ESPN, Lou Holtz will take his number 19 South Carolina team into Charlottesville to face the Cavaliers and their leading receiver, Billy McMullen. College Football Saturday presented by the U.S. Postal Service on ESPN. And boy, Lou Holtz pretty indignant about some of the goings-on down in Columbia, South Carolina, and placing some of the blame, part of the blame, on the media.
Well, Lou's not bashful. He made his point, and when he feels strongly about something, he's going to let you know.
On third down, Rutherford brought down at the 36-yard line. It'll be fourth down, and they are now 1 of 6 in third down situations. The safety, Jason Appel, making the sack.
Texas A&M is known for their safety blitzes, and this time they bring number 19 Jason Axel right here, the weak safety coming on the blitz, and they love this young safety. They think he's a true blitzer. Pittsburgh has to maximum protect, but more than that, Mark, they have to stay out of third and long. They have no chance if it's third and long.
It's been that way all day so far for the Pittsburgh offense. Fourth down and 9. Lee with a high-hanging punt that comes down at the 27, and Carter signaled for the fair catch and then took off, and that draws a late flag from the official.
You can see the inexperience right there of Jason Carter. And I think that the side judge being close to the Pittsburgh sideline right there actually convinced him to throw that flag. He was a little late with that thing coming out of there.
Delay a game on a receiving team. Ran after the ball after a fair catch. 5-yard penalty.
36-yard punt, nothing on the return, and this is what you cannot do. When is a punt return not a punt return? When it's like this.
The whole staff, we just stopped everything we were doing, and we were just glued to the television, and your mind was racing and just couldn't imagine something like that happening. It was very hard to comprehend that this was reality that we were watching.
Back here at Heinz Field, Dwayne Goins in a tailback. 7-0, Texas A&M leading Pittsburgh. Goins with good speed, trying to bounce to the perimeter and brought down over the 30. Nice run, a gain of about 9 on the play, out to the 31. Tyrone Gilliard with a missed tackle on the play.
Dwayne Goins is a speedy football player. He's been a receiver. He now gives A&M a home run threat at tailback.
Look at the huge discrepancy in running yardage so far.
Mark, what do you think about in college football, the sacks coming off the rushing yardage? That really doesn't seem fair. It really should come off the passing yardage like it does in professional football.
It distorts it quite a bit. Second down and short. One of the few times A&M's offense has had second and short today, and this is Farmer. Farmer chopped down short of the 35-yard line by Robinson. Let's go to Mike in the studio. All right, my Southern Miss, one of those teams you can't sleep on, always with quiet success and pretty good talent. First down and 10 after that run. Loss of about 2 on the play. Gerald Hayes, the middle linebacker, making the stop.
You're going to see on this play, Mark, why the Pittsburgh coaches love Gerald Hayes. You're going to see him right here, inside out, actually gets held right here, but comes off the block and makes the play. What I'm so impressed about Gerald Hayes, he went to the Pitt coaches, asked if he could be on the kickoff coverage team, asked if he could be on the punt coverage team. He is a true leader.
And this is a place that has seen a lot of good leaders and terrific talent as well. And there's a look at Tyree Young, the 6', 275-pound sophomore, shaken up on the play. He missed the season opener a week ago against Ohio because of a disciplinary problem, his reaction in a practice incident. And let's talk a little bit about Pittsburgh. You know, you look at the history of A&M on the other side of the field with the Panthers, Dan Marino, Bill Fralick, Tony Dorsett. The list goes on in terms of greats that have passed through here.
They've had great players, also great coaches. Most recently, Jackie Sherrill, Johnny Majors. I really enjoyed visiting with Paul Rhodes yesterday, their defensive coordinator. You can see where the enthusiasm on Pittsburgh's defense comes from. you can see where their aggressive nature comes from. He's an outgoing personality. I love this story. His father is a 30-year veteran of high school coaching in Iowa who is retired. His father actually moves to Pittsburgh now during the season, lives in Paul's basement, and critiques him every night. So Pitt really has 2 defensive coordinators now, Paul and his dad.
He's coming to all 12 games this year for Pitt, too. The screen pass set up well. Bethel Johnson right near the first down at the 44-yard line. And speaking of coaches at Pitt, flag down on the play. Hey, who's that?
That was an amazing opportunity to be a graduate assistant on a staff with Jimmy Johnson, Dave Wanstead, Jackie Sherrill.
What a group. Any one memory that sticks out for you at that time?
Looking at those pictures, my hair was a lot thicker back then. I promise you that.
I was expecting a mullet, man.
Downfield. On the offense. 5-yard penalty from previous spot. Repeat second down.
Pittsburgh is the home of the mullet. You never had one of those?
I know this. Pittsburgh is a great sports town. You know, I think back to these days growing up. This is where Willie Stargell used to play, an old Three River Stadium. Roberto Clemente, Manny Sanguillen, Bob Bill, Danny Murtaugh. Then you think about the Steelers. Let's go to the Steelers. Joe Green, Terry Bradshaw.
Jack Lambert.
Your favorite, Mel Blount.
Never, ever did a football player look better in a uniform.
You're right.
Second down and 17. And the football fever continues to build here with the Panthers. Ferris under pressure, got it off in time. Incomplete. And Ferris ends up on his back. And he was bothered by a sore elbow earlier this year. Kept out of some scrimmages a couple of weeks ago. Coming up on the Nivea for Men halftime report, Mike Tirico and Trev Albert in the studio. Highlights from the Big Ten and the game day gang down in Gainesville for that big matchup between Miami and Florida. Who do you like?
I like Miami.
Why?
They're still the champion. No one's beat them yet. I just think with their experience at quarterback and the athletes on defense, Miami's going to be difficult to beat.
I'll check back with you at about 9 o'clock. I'll hit you on your cell phone. Third down and 17. Third and long again. Ferris. Incomplete at midfield. And the Pittsburgh defense earning some cheers from the crowd.
Mark, you have a feeling right now that this defense has given this crowd and hopefully Pitt's offense some life. There's some energy in this stadium right now. Once again, A&M on the big penalty on second down put them in a third down situation they could not negotiate.
Let's talk about special teams, Bob. Pittsburgh and Texas A&M both using some of their better athletes in punt and kickoff coverage. This is the 5th punt of the day for A&M, and it bounces all the way down to the 25. Was it touched, yes or no? The Aggies seem to think so.
Mark, that is your word nightmare as a coach right there.
It's going to be Pittsburgh's ball at the 26.
Everyone in the country practices the Peter call. You see Gaines, the freshman, making the signal right there. And fortunately for Pittsburgh, they did not touch that. Pittsburgh did not touch that football.
And the crowd cheering because number 10 is in the ball game. Tyler Palko, the 6'2", 210-pound freshman. Last week was 0 for 1 passing. A highly recruited quarterback. Loves football. Out of Imperial, PA. Backs lining up out of the eye, and this presents a bit of a sensitive situation for Walt Harris. A blitz, and Palko took a hit but got it off. Incomplete, and a flag down. It was intended for Roosevelt Bynes, number 87. Palko on his first play from scrimmage took a lick.
It didn't take long for Mike Hankowitz to heat up Tyler Palko. You are going to see the free safety coming again on the blitz. It did not take long. Jackson Appel on the free safety blitz. The first play, Tyler Palko's in the game. Welcome to college football, Tyler.
Took him right out of his cleats almost, and there's the penalty. It was intended for Roosevelt Bynes. Let's talk about the quarterbacking situation a little bit, Bob Davey. Palco, the freshman right there. How do you get him playing time without losing Rod Rutherford? A sensitive deal.
It's difficult, Mark, and you can see the problem. Everybody cheers for the underdog. Everybody cheers for the backup quarterback. When he came on the field, this crowd erupted. That's great for Tyler Palco, but what about Rod Rutherford over there on the sideline?
Palco, a lefty as well, completes his first pass to number 88, Lamar Slade, who was working on Sammy Davis.
Give Walt Harris credit for throwing the football with that young quarterback.
Here's a look at some of the players they lost from last year. Priestley, Antonio Bryant, and A.J. English. Boy, that's a lot of offense collectively.
It really is a remarkable story last year of Pittsburgh's football team. They started out 1-5. Walt was in the spread offense. He went back to his offense, the two-back offense. They won the next 7 games.
Right now, currently tied for second in terms of winning streaks in the country. 2nd and 3. And a flag down on the near side of the field.
Mark, once again.
Dead ball. Ball start. Offense. 5-yard penalty.
Penalties
Repeat 2nd down.
Killing both teams right now. Let's go to Mike in the studio. And back to the action right here. Pittsburgh running it out to the 43-yard line. Gamble making the stop on the play. Palco in on his first series.
What's difficult with a young quarterback, the prior play with the delay of game penalty, how much does Walt Harris ask Tyler Palco to do at the line of scrimmage, making those checks against a multiple defense? That's why they had the 5-yard penalty the play before.
3rd down and long. 8 to go for Pittsburgh. Gamble coming on a blitz. And they get to Palco at the 35-yard line once again. Brian Gamble on the Butkus watch list, making his 37th consecutive start and a big play there.
A&M loves the blitz, but when A&M gets a freshman quarterback, they really love the blitz. Here you're going to see Brian Gamble, the inside linebacker, coming on the blitz, the end to inside, the outside linebacker outside. The result, once again, another quarterback sack for A&M.
Bob, that is the 5th already here in the first half. 4th and 17. And Andy Lee back to punt, standing on his own 20. Carter, who's been a bit of an adventure back there for A&M on punt return, standing on his own 20 as well. He lets it bounce, and it'll be down at the 18-yard line. Nice punt once again by Lee. 47 yards, nothing on the return. Aggies with it when we come back. 1st down and 10, backs out of the eye, and we have a new quarterback in for Texas A&M, number 18, Dustin Long, who hands it off to Farmer. Farmer brought down right near the line of scrimmage. Let's take a look at the new quarterback. He's 6'2", a sophomore. Last week was 3 of 12 passing for 45 yards. Had a couple of interceptions, but in fairness to Long, he had a couple dropped on him too.
He did, and uncharacteristically, Aggie receivers dropped
Illegal
some
formation.
balls. Dustin Long
On the offense. Not enough players on the line of scrimmage. 5-yard penalty.
Dustin Long is the backup quarterback. But if you're an Aggie fan, everybody really wants to see Reggie McNeil, the young freshman. So Dustin Long's getting his opportunity. He had better take advantage of it.
R.C. Slocum as well, like his counterpart Harris, determined to get the backup quarterbacks into the ball game. But at what cost and at what circumstance? There's a look at Reggie McNeil, the highly recruited freshman. 1st down 15, a look into the eyes of middle linebacker Gerald Hayes. Long passes complete. Out to the 22-yard line. That was Jamar Taylor, and he got rocked by Torrey Cox.
We mentioned just a moment ago, A&M dropped some balls last week against Louisiana Lafayette, particularly Jamar Taylor. Here Jamar bounces back. Dustin Long steps up with the pressure. Jamar makes a great catch. Torrey Cox in for the tackle. But give Dino Babers credit for letting Dustin Long throw the football when they're backed up.
2nd down and a workable 5 to go. Long, incomplete at the 35-yard line, intended for Johnson. Let's go back to Mike in the studio. Look out for those MAC teams, man.
I tell you, Miami looks good in those new uniforms, too. I didn't recognize them with those stripes down the side.
3rd down and 5. Pittsburgh bringing pressure. The receiver screen complete. And a 1st down complete to Terrence Thomas at the 32-yard line. And good poise by Dustin Long, the sophomore. Stood there in the pocket bar.
Here you're going to see Pittsburgh's version of the free safety blitz. You're going to see the free safety, Tez Morris coming on the blitz. A&M counters with the famed jailbreak screen. Great play call against the blitz. Almost broke it for a huge play.
Long out of the shotgun, finds Porter. And Porter is brought down. Nice gain out to the 37-yard line. Got about 5. Gerald Hayes making the stop on the play. And now A&M trying to hurry up a little bit with 1:44 to go in the first half. First half in which the defenses have dominated. 2nd down and 6. Incomplete once again to Porter, who's chopped down at the 41 by the strong safety Tez Morris.
Very difficult for Pittsburgh to continue to line up and put that safety on Greg Porter. You're almost better off, if you're going to do that, to come up and press him. If you give him room off the line of scrimmage, he's going to get open in those seams.
Ferris 5 of 13, watching the sophomore Long right now. He put a little air under that one, incomplete, intended for Terrence Murphy. Torrey Cox stride for stride once again. He's the fastest player on the defense, and you don't see people throwing his way that often,
and
frankly.
Mark, we were in the office yesterday, and the thing the NFL coaches love about Torrey Cox, he's fearless. He's not afraid to get up there and play bump and run. It takes a unique personality to do that. Also, he loves to be on those special teams. He's a punt blocker. He's the gunner on the punt. He runs down on kickoffs. That's why those NFL guys were over at that office yesterday watching him.
He used to play on the other side of the ball, now a DB, and really gets it after a couple years. A low line drive punt. This thing's going to end up down near the 10-yard line. And Cody Skates, the junior, on a 49-yard effort. Had a nice roll, in Pittsburgh with 90 yards to go. So 54 seconds to go in the half. Let's go to Mike in the studio. All right, Mike, Pittsburgh with 2 timeouts remaining, A&M with 3 remaining. I'll go back on the bench.
Mark, what do you do right here? 55 seconds, 3 timeouts if you're Pittsburgh. Backed up.
Oh, boy, the way the offense is going, I say you play it conservatively. And as I say that, Rutherford guns it into traffic. And it's incomplete. Don't forget, coming up Saturday night, actually Saturday afternoon, just a few hours from now, Alabama, Oklahoma, number 3, Oklahoma. 2 teams with rich football histories, but this is just the first matchup between the teams since 1970. They've combined for a total of 19 national championships. It's on ABC. 2nd down and 10. They run it out to the 18-yard line.
Mark, that was an interesting call on 1st down. Walt Harris choosing to throw the football and make it in 2nd and 10. Now he's given A&M an opportunity to use their timeouts. So once again, it's a chess game back and forth. Walt Harris is in a predicament right now. It's really important that they convert this 3rd down.
Yeah, look at the graphic, only 11 positive yards. And one thing we haven't had a chance to do as we look at potential punting situation coming up, special teams. Do you use your best athletes on it, or what was your philosophy?
You have to use your best athletes. And because if you don't, the players are going to know that you don't put emphasis on it. And you know what, Mark? The best players and the great players like Gerald Hayes and Torrey Cox, they want to be on it because they realize how important it is to the outcome of the game. So without a doubt, I'm of the philosophy you put your best players on that field. And if you have to give them a rest, sometimes you're better off to rest them on offense than you are resting them on special teams.
Interesting. Rutherford coming back in from the sidelines. Rod Rutherford had a chance to watch a series and watch Tyler Palko do his thing On the last offensive series by Pittsburgh, 3rd down and 1 coming up for the Panthers. Pittsburgh yet to score. After last week putting up 27 on the board in a win against Ohio. Backside of the eye. Handed off to the fullback, Lusaka Polite. And he is close to the 1st down. Just over the 20-yard line, brought down by Jolly on the play.
Mark, that's one of those plays that won't show up in the statistics as a huge play, but that was a big play because they didn't have to punt the football.
Timeout on the field. We'll be right back. 39 seconds to go in the first half. The Aggies out of the Big 12 leading Pittsburgh out of the Big East 7-0 in this interconference clash, the second meeting ever between these two programs. 1st down and 10 for the Panthers. They give it to the first man through, the fullback. And a late flag on the play. Polite on the carry.
It's going to be an interesting halftime for Walt Harris and his offense.
In what sense?
At this point right now,
defense, 5-yard penalty from the end of the run.
They really have not established anything. And do they come back in the second half and try to run the football, make some 1st downs, or do they come out and say, look, we have to throw the football to be successful? The bottom line, though, it's only 7-0 right now, A&M.
On A&M's only touchdown drive of the game, they were the beneficiaries of some very good field position, starting at the 49-yard line. Put them down to field position and defense. 1st down and 5. We said at the top of the show that it was going to be about dominant defense today, and it's proven to be true. Brandon Myree, the 6-foot junior, the most improved player in the spring, with a nice gain out to the 33-yard line. First down, and that's the end of the first half of play. Well, the defenses have been dominating and intimidating and bringing bad intentions. 7-0 at halftime. Let's go to Mike Tirico in the studio. Welcome back, everyone, to Heinz Field on an absolutely gorgeous Saturday afternoon for a game of college football. Texas A&M taking on Pittsburgh, a battle between the Big 12 and the Big East. Mark Jones along with Bob Davie. Bob, we talked about the defenses at the top of the show. So far, the story of the game has been defenses, especially Texas A&M's.
Wow. Somewhere Joe Green, Mel Blount, Jack Lambert, they're proud right now of this game. But if you look at this game, there's a couple critical statistics. One, A&M's offense, out of 35 plays, Pittsburgh's forced 4 negative plays. For Pittsburgh, 27 snaps, there's been 8 negative plays. And if you combine that with 3rd down, on average 3rd downs, Pitt's had 3rd and 9, A&M 3rd and 10. So it's tough against good defenses when you're in 3rd and long to make 1st downs and convert.
We said also, not to be prescient or anything, that it would take some type of adjustment offensively to see who would be able to eventually kind of break through in this game.
It's interesting, but if you look at the first half, there's hope for the offenses. They don't need many points to win. This game really has come down to one play. A&M's completed 1 long pass when Pittsburgh's cornerback fell down. Pittsburgh has yet to make a big play. So there's hope. They only need a few points to win the game.
And one of the big questions that begs here in the second half is which quarterback will we see down the stretch for the respective teams? So far, we've seen 4 of them in the ball game so far. Texas A&M set to kick off. Pittsburgh will get the ball first here in the second half. And it is Spencer, Shante Spencer. Corey Cox out to the 42-yard line. Cox out to the 42. Let's take a look at our ESPN game track. We talked about it a moment ago. Defenses were dominant. 5 sacks for the Wrecking Crew. Constantly putting pressure on Rod Rutherford. Pittsburgh's defense, not bad either. They had a couple of sacks. Farmer felt the heat there and got in barely. And he got heated up on that play by Tyree Young. Although he made it in. 1st down and 10. Rutherford in, running the option this time to the wide side. And Brought down after a gain of about 3 by Marcus Jasmine. This is Pittsburgh's best starting field position of the day.
Once again, Torrey Cox returning the kickoff gives Pittsburgh a chance to negotiate with good field positions. But on that last play, you couldn't help but notice Ty Warren in the pursuit from the backside on that option.
2nd down and 9. Both teams having to do much better on 1st and 2nd down here in the second half. Myrie between the tackles, brought down to the 48. Let's bring in Holly Rowe downstairs.
Guys, Pitt coach Walt Harris told me at halftime that it doesn't matter who the quarterback is if the guys up front aren't executing. He said they've got to do a better job executing their offense. Also, Tyree Young, their defensive player, will be out for the rest of the game with a twisted ankle. For Texas A&M, R.C. Slocum said that we will see all 3 quarterbacks, Dustin Long and Reggie McNeil. Keep your eye on that for offense for the Aggies.
All right, Holly, 3rd down and 2. Wilson, the tight end, in motion for the Panthers. And a 1st down. That was number 25 once again, Brandon Myrie. The most improved player in the spring for the Panthers. He was slowed by a knee injury early last week, but seemed to run pretty authoritatively just a minute ago.
Brandon's a young man, extremely highly recruited out of high school. Went to Alabama, played a lot as a red shirt freshman at Alabama. Came here last year. An impressive thing Walt Harris said, he's been over a 3.0 grade average in each semester since he's transferred to Pittsburgh.
And Harris looking for one of the 3 to step up and assume the leadership role. Myrie again. Nice run out to the 36, about a yard short of the 1st down. Got a good block on the play, too.
You'll notice one thing here. One of the risks of bringing the backside linebacker on the blitz is if he doesn't make the play, he is out of the pursuit lane. Here you see Brian Gamble blitz from the backside. He has no way to scrape across to tackle the ball carrier.
2nd down and short. Go to the fullback, Polite, and he is stuffed short of the line of scrimmage, maybe. Lucky to get back if he did. Ty Warren, the 6'4", 308-pound senior, making the stop on the play.
Interesting story about Ty Warren. He's a young man from Bryan College Station area. It came down to Southern Cal and Texas A&M in recruiting. And R.C.'s son, Sean, at that time was an assistant at Southern Cal. So it came down to father versus son in a recruiting war at the end, and the old man won out.
Funny how that happens. Tell a few stories about your son, huh? 3rd down and 2. Rutherford keeps it himself and got drilled. I'm not sure that he got to the 1st down. He was just stopped up short of the 35-yard line by number 48, Terrence Keel. The strong safety led the team in tackles a season ago. Now, if it is 4th and short, you can tell what the fans want. One more look at this play.
Rod Rutherford runs the little follow option where he follows the lead blocker up in there. Terrence Keel, one of the most physical football players in the history of Texas A&M football. That's a pretty strong statement to make.
They are bringing in the chains to measure. Holly talked about it. He said that Harris said that the offensive line had to do a better job here in the second half. Petiti, LaCarte, Reed, Anderson, and Morgan, as you see how much they are shy of the 1st down. All 5 guys back from a season ago, but not playing that well together yet.
Mark, I think that, plus the fact that maybe they're alternating the 3 tailbacks, they're not completely in sync right now. But keep in mind, they're going against a very good defensive football team.
4th and 1. Rutherford kept it himself. A little surge off that left side of the offensive line behind Petiti and LaCarte.
Mark, when you have a 225-pound quarterback, I guess the best thing to do is let him sneak it. But A&M is stout up front.
You can tell by the reaction of the fans, they did not like the spot. Rutherford, a great athlete, recruited by Michigan State as a basketball player. It speaks to his athletic talents and abilities.
Showed a shot of Walt Harris. All you're doing if you're a Walt Harris right now is crossing those fingers.
And the wrecking crew wrecking the hopes of the Panthers on that offensive sequence. Short of the 1st down. Brian Gamble and gang going to the sidelines, handing the ball over to its offense. The Aggies with the lead when we come back. Back to the action, Derek Farmer running off tackle on the right side of the offensive line, close to a first down, out to the 47-yard line. Derek Farmer with a nice burst of speed. He had 55 yards rushing in the first half, and yes, it is an Aggie first down. Also has the game's only touchdown so far.
I'm impressed with Derek Farmer, Mark. It looks to me if he gets enough touches, he's going to go over 100 yards rushing in this football game. The other interesting thing, Dustin Long starting the second half ahead of Mark Ferris.
Looks like a busted play. Long wanted to hand it off and is run out of bounds back at the 40. Once again, a negative play offensively. Dan Stevens applying the pressure up front for the Panthers.
Mark, the inconsistency once again jumps up and bites A&M. They came into this season with a lot of pressure on them offensively. They were 107th in the nation last year on offense. They averaged 305 yards a game, the lowest amount of total yardage since 1972. Last year they had a lot of injuries, a lot of bad things happened. This year there's high expectations. But the inconsistency, there was an example right there of another self-inflicted mistake that puts them in a second and very long situation.
Third sack of the day. It's called a sack by Pittsburgh, and second down and 18. You know, last week against Louisiana Lafayette, all too often for R.C. Slocum and his team, that's exactly what happened. A lot of motion penalties, a lot of delay of game penalties, far too many for his liking. And I want to put it to you, Coach, how much of that is when you change quarterbacks? Do you lose rhythm and familiarity among the offense?
Well, there's no question, but I don't think that's an excuse.
No.
They made the choice to change quarterbacks. And whether it's Dustin Long or Mark Ferris, both of those guys have been around a long time.
Second and 23 now. Long to pass. Complete over the middle to Terrence Murphy. Got some of it back. Brought down by Tez Morris. Let's go back to Mike in the studio. All right, Mike back here. Ball at midfield. Third down and 7 for Dustin Long, who's the quarterback in the Aggie offense.
Keep an eye on Greg Porter, lined up in the slot.
He's the big tight end, actually wide receiver. Long comes into the short side of the field, hung it up, and it's caught, although there's a penalty on the play. A flag down at the 20. Great grab by Terrence Murphy. Shante Spencer was there on the coverage, but man, what a nicely thrown ball. A 33-yard pickup if it stands.
Just a great throw by Dustin Long. Once again, what you're going to see is Pittsburgh coming with the blitz and just isolating one-on-one Shante Spencer out there on Terrence Murphy. And right here is a great example of when you're a defensive player, you have to look back and play the football like an offensive player. That was good coverage. Shante Spencer, though, gave himself no chance to make a play on the ball because he never looked back at the ball.
Gives Texas A&M a first down and 10. Farmer, the lone back. 3 receivers in on the formation. It's Farmer. Farmer tackled back at the 15-yard line. A loss of about 2 on the play. Holthouse making the stop.
On that outside zone play, you could hear the Pittsburgh fans wanting holding. And right here, you're going to see it. In fact, there's a tackle right there from Texas A&M that actually drags the defensive player down.
But it was a good tackle.
It was a good tackle. And if you're going to pick a guy out, you ought to tackle Gerald Hayes, that middle linebacker.
Second down and 11. Quick 3-step drop. Long fires. Incomplete, and there's a flag down. There was contact between Terrence Thomas and the DB, Shante Spencer. Although Spencer had 3 interceptions last week against Ohio, A&M not afraid to go his way, and it's against Pittsburgh.
Mark, I would like to see that call again. From this angle, it looked like Shante Spencer drove on the football and actually had an opportunity to go make the play. I think anytime a defensive back is making a play on the football and not defending the receiver, the officials should let him go. He has an equal opportunity to make a play.
You're a defensive coordinator formerly, right? First and goal.
I think I'm a little biased on my opinion on that.
Not quite. An 11-yard penalty. First and goal from the 4. Long. Farmer. Stopped up at the 4-yard line by Shante Spencer. Undaunted. Coming back to make the play. We're here at Heinz Field, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Out of the Big 12, Texas A&M taking on the Big East Pittsburgh Panthers. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davey and Holly Rowe. In a game so far that has been dominated by defenses. Pittsburgh with the nation's second longest winning streak, tied with South Florida. Trying to make it 8, but an uphill battle ahead for the Panthers. Second down and goal for Texas A&M. Farmer lunging, touchdown, Texas A&M. So the Aggies take the ball on the opening drive of the third quarter and march it down the field. And Derek Farmer caps the touchdown drive with a 3-yard touchdown run.
Mark, think back how this drive started. 4th and 1, 4th and less than 1. Pittsburgh did not convert. A&M's offense comes out, takes advantage of it, goes the length of the field.
Pegram in for the extra point. And the Aggies now with a 14-0 lead on the road. And one more look at the work for the offensive line. And Derek Farmer taking it to the house. The Aggies with a 14-0 lead when we come back. 14-0 lead, 8:42 to go here in the third quarter of play. In the last scoring drive, 64 yards. 2 key passing plays, though, Bob Davey, on that drive.
I think Dustin Long came in and did a great job. A critical play that you might forget about right now was 2nd and 18, and he completed it for 11 yards, and then he goes up the top, and Terrence Murphy makes a great catch.
Gates kicks it 6 yards deep to Torrey Cox, and he'll take a knee. Well, tonight at 7:45 Eastern on ESPN, number 19, South Carolina, led by senior running back Andrew Pinnock. Will face Virginia and wide receiver Billy McMullen, the ACC's leading receiver. College football Saturday night presented by the U.S. Postal Service on ESPN. Then tonight at 8 Eastern, Clifton Smith and Syracuse defense look to shut down North Carolina in the Carrier Dome. College football Saturday night on ESPN2. For more, log on to ESPN.com, keyword schedule. Rod Rutherford back in the game to direct the offense.
Mark, is it just me, or are there a lot of ESPN employees that are Syracuse grads?
Yeah, that works, man.
Yeah.
Someone's on the payroll. Yeah. 1st and 10. Rutherford with the toss. And speaking of Syracuse grads, Mike, what was your major back in the studio again?
You know, Mark, there was also pull-up 14.
All right, Mike, and Rutherford to the short side of the field. They're going to rule it complete to Lamar Slade. Making the catch at the 28-yard line. Sets up short yardage situation for Pittsburgh. You know, they looked pretty good on the last drive, Bob. Just that 4th and 1 really did them in. And what a swing it turned into in favor of A&M.
A huge momentum swing, and you sense it right here in this stadium. And you can't help but sense there's a little bit of doubt right now of the people at this game if Pittsburgh can mount 2 scoring drives. They need a big play.
3rd and 1. A light in motion. They hand it off to Myrie, who's short of the first down. The Aggie defense led by Gamble and Keel making the stop. They tried the left side, found no success.
A&M big, strong, and physical up front. Here, once again, you see Terrence Keel coming up from the secondary. We talked about earlier, one of the most physical tacklers on the football team, and Bryant Gamble, a great story. His dad's a high school football coach. He's been a 3-year starter at inside linebacker for A&M.
Making his 37th consecutive start. This is the 7th punt, Bob, for Andy Lee today of Pittsburgh. Carter standing back on his own 30. A line drive returnable punt. Low line drive, and Carter fumbles it. And Pittsburgh got it back at the 39-yard line. A 37-yard punt that was bobbled, and the Panthers get their first big break of the ball game. It was covered by Tutu Ferguson. That's the first turnover of the ball game today.
The inexperienced return man, Jason Carter, makes a big mistake right there. You have the feeling A&M did not need a spectacular play right now at this point in the football game. All they needed to do right there was regain possession. But it gives Pittsburgh a spark. The key thing right now, take advantage of it.
There's a look at Carter getting some instruction from the sidelines and the coaching staff. Had a chance to ponder that thought for a while. First down and 10. Rutherford hands it off to his tailback. That's Brandon Meyer-Reed. Gain of about 1 on the play. It'll be second down and about 9.
Kicking game. Kicking game.
Over and over again, huh?
No one feels worse right now, though, than that young man right there.
A crowd here, standing, waiting, anticipating, looking for something to happen offensively.
Mark, I think they'll heat him up right here. You're going to get some kind of play-action pass.
Rutherford, given time, throws high, incomplete, intended for Roosevelt Bynes. And let's go back to Mike Tirico in the studio on the phone.
The wishbone goes to East Lansing.
A big equalizer, huh? Third down and long, 3rd and 8. Fitzgerald in motion. Rutherford stood in and got it off. First down complete to Larry Fitzgerald, the true freshman.
Give Rod Rutherford a lot of credit. Things aren't going extremely well right now, but he steps up, he stays steady in the pocket, and he delivers the ball. Larry Fitzgerald, the young freshman receiver. Big, strong, a lot of confidence. Big third down conversion right there. Excuse me, Mark, for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you know, for a couple of years, Rod Rutherford never really got the opportunity. Waited behind Priestley and Turman. 1st and 10. It's Rod's team now. Has a man out of bounds, incomplete, intended for Slade. It'll be second down and 10.
Unfortunate right there, but I think you're going to see right here that Larry Slade does not get his feet down or his foot down and have possession of that. It looked to me that Rod Rutherford maybe held onto the ball a little bit too long there. If that ball would have been delivered earlier, it would have been a big completion.
Slade just running out of room on the sideline. Slade, the lone senior among the wide receiver corps. Second down and 10. Backside of the eye. Maggie's bringing a little bit of a blitz here. Incomplete, intended to Bynes that time on the other side. He was covered by Jones. Byron Jones, number 11, right there with Bynes.
Byron Jones is an interesting story. Last year in the bowl game in Houston, played as a true freshman, was most valuable player of the football game as a freshman. This year he came back, had a big interception last week against Louisiana Lafayette for a touchdown. He is a playmaker now.
They seem to have a bunch of them at Texas A&M. Evan Smith, Aaron Glenn, Ray Mickens, and the list goes on and on. Third down and 10. Rutherford gonna try and do it himself. Not quite there, about 2 yards short of the first down at the 18. Stopped by Brian Gamble, making yet another tackle.
This is a little bit different for an A&M. You're going to see them right here decide to come with just a 3-man rush. And Rod Rutherford, without pressure, is able to step up and get close to 10 yards on the run. A&M, it's surprising that they didn't heat them up right there.
It's fourth down and about 2 to go. They're 0 for 1 on fourth down. The Aggies stopped them on fourth down last series.
Watch the fullback.
Little option. Rutherford keeps it. Lunging at the last minute. And he appears to be short once again. Honeycutt and Davis in on the stop for the Aggie defense.
Great effort by Rod Rutherford right there of trying to get up north and south and convert the first down.
It has been extremely tough sledding.
Mark, I'm going out on the limb right here.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say he made it. Are you going to come back and get on the limb with me? Or what?
Yeah, I'm with you, win or tie on that one.
I know.
I don't think Rutherford got there. And for the second consecutive time, the wrecking crew comes up big. That was the furthest penetration of the day for Walt Harris's team, but to no avail. We'll be back. Aggie ball in just a minute. And standing all 4 quarters, Bob Davey, as always, huh?
They don't have their girlfriends here with them, though. No rewards for scoring a touchdown. There's no one to kiss.
Traveling's tough sometimes. Gain of a couple by Goins. Let's go downstairs to Holly Rowe.
Guys, back in the late 80s, early 90s, R.C. Slocum and a defensive coordinator I know came up with the term wrecking crew. This is an official hat, and they have hung their hat on that style of defense ever since. Last year, though, 2 games into the season, they were not playing like that. They were lackluster. R.C. Slocum called his guys over and said, this is not just a tradition, it's how we play. You don't deserve that title. You have to go out there and work hard to earn it. The team has played much better on defense. They say they're back to wrecking crew form, as we could see on those 2 fourth-down stops.
Yeah, no doubt, Holly. 2nd down and long for Dustin Long, complete. To number 2, Terrence Taylor, Jamar Taylor, pardon me, and he has a 1st down out near the 30-yard line. Boy, Long looking pretty sharp right now, pulling the trigger.
He really has delivered the football well, and you see what the A&M coaches really like about Jamar Taylor, and that is his strength after he catches the football and his ability to run with the ball after the catch. Here you see a missed tackle once again by Shante Spencer, and Jamar Taylor takes the ball and gets additional yardage up the field.
That was the ball on the 30, 1st down and 10. Good 3-step drop. Hung it up there for Taylor. Couldn't get his feet in bounds. It's incomplete at the 45. He was working on Torrey Cox, and let's go long distance to Mike Tirico. Mike.
Mark gets early.
All right, back here, 2nd down and 10. And off is to Goins. Stopped up by Morris on the play. Got a couple. One more look at that catch or no catch.
Ooh. I think it all comes down to, did he have possession of the football? It looks like his foot is in bounds. It helps that it's over on that sideline where those players are wearing those blue jerseys. I think that may have affected a little bit that call.
Can't say there's any partiality because it's a Big 12 officiating crew today.
Just great concentration by Jamar Taylor.
3rd down and 6. Pittsburgh coming with pressure. Incomplete off the hands of Terrence Murphy. A catchable ball that would have been a 1st down for the Aggies. Instead, they'll have to punt on 4th and 6.
Pittsburgh coming with the all-out blitz. Once again, the safety isolated on the wide receiver. That's tough coverage right there. Terrence Murphy dropped the football. The difference you see, Drake Porter early in the game had that same matchup and made those catches.
7th punt of the day for Skates. And he gets off another good one. Back at the 14. Gaines brought down immediately at the 25, a 52-yard punt for Skates. Timeout on the field. We'll be back right after this.
In the overall scope of things, in the overall scope of life, the tragedies that those families experienced that were involved in those accidents is really, I think, just one of those tremendously thought-provoking times when you stop and say, you know, what am I doing? You know, what's really important about all this?
That was interesting listening to R.C. Knowing him so well, he is someone that truly does have balance in his life. And he and his wife, Nell, just bought a new ranch. I was kidding him yesterday. He has 30 cows on that ranch, Mark. He's come a long way since when I was at A&M.
I want to see him brand one of those things. 1st down and 10 for Rutherford. Has a man open on the waggle. Picks the big tight end, Chris Wilson, for the 1st down. Out near the 30-yard line, just short of the 29. Wilson, 6'3", a junior, 240.
It's a good play call right here. You're going to see they start the zone play action and bring the tight end, Chris Wilson, across on the route off the run fake. Great 1st down and 10 call. Chris Wilson last year actually played wide receiver for them in their spread offense. But Mark, it comes back because of the penalty.
All for naught. What appeared to be one of the most cleanly executed plays of the day offensively anyway for the Pitt offense. goes for nothing. It comes back. The result of a holding infraction.
You look at this second half, Pitt right now has no one to blame but themselves. They've had 2 close 4th down opportunities to convert. The best offensive play of the second half right there gets called back because of penalty.
8-yard penalty as a result. First down, 18 to go. Approaching 2.5 minutes to go in the period. And another flag on the play. This is somewhat symbolic, Bob, of what you would see typically in the early season, yes?
Offside. Defense. 5-yard penalty.
Get some of it back.
Winning college football games, particularly early in the season, is a test of wills. And A&M is not an easy defense to play catch-up against.
Can't play catch-up at Heinz Field, right?
Did I tee you up right
Thank
there?
you, Bob. Thank you. I was sitting on that one, baby. First and 13 to go. Rutherford delivers a strike at the 20-yard line to Lamar Slade, who was working on Sammy Davis. Slade had a touchdown catch last week of 26 yards.
A&M decided to stay in their base defense and really drop 8. You see the outside linebacker dropping into coverage. You see Sammy Davis, maybe the best cornerback A&M has had. And I know Kevin Smith's here. I know Aaron Glenn may be watching. Ray Mickens may be watching. But they're really high on the candy man, Sammy Davis.
You're going to get some phone calls after this one. Second down and 6. Rutherford rolling out. Complete to Bynes at the 27-yard line. Keel making the stop on the play, and it's a first down for Pittsburgh. Speaking of great ones at Texas A&M, Lester Hayes had some great days with the Raiders after that. Kevin Smith just a few doors down from us right now. Aaron Glenn. Mickens, who was the fastest of this group, Bob, that you saw? You coach a lot of these guys.
Well, I wasn't there when Lester Hayes was there.
Right.
But Emery Ballard tells me he may have been the fastest. I've got to go with Aaron Glenn.
First down and 10. Rutherford going upstairs. Davis on the coverage, contact, and a flag down. They're working on the Thorpe candidate, Sammy Davis, who had 5 interceptions a season ago and one last week.
Great coverage by Sammy Davis. But if we stop this right here, you're going to see something that Pittsburgh's doing. They're utilizing all 7 blockers. They're keeping everyone in to maximum protect. And they're going one-on-one up at the top against man-to-man coverage.
And Davis there to, well, get in the way a little too much. Bynes held a little bit right there. He's been thrown at 5 times. Got 4 completions off of him.
And Roosevelt Bynes is not the tallest guy. Rod Rutherford's overthrown him several times, but it looks like he keeps coming back to him.
First down and 10 as a result of the 44. Rutherford complete to Fitzgerald. That's what he does real well. Gets it in traffic. Keel made the stop, and a feathery, soft touch by Rod Rutherford. A 23-yard gain.
Rod Rutherford seems to be getting in sync right now. They come with the bootleg pass, utilize his abilities, throwing to the left with a left-handed quarterback. Again, Pitt coaches told us yesterday that Larry Fitzgerald has the best ball skills on their football team. He looked like a basketball player going up right there, Mark, and rebound.
Good. First down and 10 from the 36. Wilson, the tight end, in motion. Rutherford, complete. Pulling it right now, Bob Davey. Complete once again to Larry Fitzgerald, and let's go back to the studio. Big Ten up. Must be the uniforms. First and 10 from the 24, and Rod Rutherford suddenly here in the 3rd period, late in the period, catching fire. Backs lining up out of the eye. Slade. Tiptoes out of bounds at the 21-yard line. Byron Jones there to push him out.
I believe that's 5 straight completions for Rod Rutherford. And it seems like Pittsburgh opening it up, abandoning the running game, is working for him right now.
Getting a chance to get in rhythm. Walt Harris checking with that script. With his note, 2nd down and 7.
Interesting, Walt Harris calls every offensive play for Pittsburgh, and he is the quarterback coach.
Well, he and his quarterback on the same page right now. Going to take off himself. Rutherford wrapped up at the 16-yard line. And that's the end of the 3rd quarter. 15 minutes to play. Pittsburgh fans still holding out hope, saying, in Rod, we trust. We'll be right back after this. 14-0 as we start the 4th quarter of play. 3rd down and 2 for Pittsburgh at the 16-yard line. Rod Rutherford has looked like a different quarterback on this drive. Complete once again to Fitzgerald, the freshman, and a 1st down working on Sammy Davis. And let's take a look at our ESPN game track. The big story of the 2nd half so far, 2 4th down stops by the Aggie wrecking crew defensively. And Dustin Long dusted himself off coming off the bench and completed some nice strikes, leading them down the field.
Mark, you have the feeling that it's imperative that Pittsburgh finishes this drive and gets some positive points for all their hard work. They keep climbing that mountain, but they don't get any rewards for it. They have to get this ball in the end zone.
Deep penetration here in the 2nd half, but to no avail. And Pittsburgh calls a timeout. Seemed to be a little confusion on that formation. Rutherford coming over to the sideline to talk with the Bain Trust. We're going to call a timeout with them. Pittsburgh 1st and goal when we come back. 1st and goal to go for the Panthers from the 9-yard line. In 2 different halves offensively for Rod Rutherford. Passing, and it's ruled complete at the 1-yard line to the backup tight end, Eric Gill, number 45.
Rod Rutherford has found the groove right now. You have the feeling that the weight of the world is off his shoulders. He's starting to let his ability take over. They really like this young tight end, Eric Gill. 250 pounds. Last year was their scout team player of the year at Pittsburgh, going against the 1st-team defense.
Now a yard away from the end zone. Rutherford 7 of 7 on this drive. Polite and Myrie the backs. Rutherford keeps it himself, falls forward, touchdown, Panthers.
Mark, the pressure now goes back on the A&M offense to be able to keep the ball away from Pittsburgh, who seems to have some momentum right now. But if you look at the scenario of this 2nd half, Pittsburgh's come out and really done an excellent job offensively.
Rod Rutherford keying the attack. 7 of 7 passing on that drive. Pittsburgh's offense could bottle what they had on that last drive. They'd be in business. Roney with the extra point. And it's 14-7. They said the biggest area of improvement for Rutherford this year was accuracy and consistency. He showed it on that drive. Let's go back to Mike in the studio. Notre Dame checking into the top 25 this week. Rod Rutherford a little geeked up and jacked up right now. Why not, after the way that he distributed the ball and managed the offense, Bob, on that last drive?
What happens? A lot of pressure builds up on young players, particularly quarterbacks. And you feel like right now that pressure's starting to ease a little bit. He can go out and freewheel it a little bit.
We're going to redo the extra point. The result of a penalty. We're only going to try this one from 25 yards out. Right down Main Street. take a look at the proficiency of Rod Rutherford on that last offensive sequence. Picked the spots well, Bob.
The thing you notice, they started to roll Rod Rutherford out a little bit and throw the quick game. To get away from the Aggie pressure, he did a great job on the run, and the emergence of Larry Fitzgerald is big.
And we have another flag down in the field that was sitting on the hash mark on the far side of the field. Didn't see it at first, and you know what? I think we're going to have to do this once again because the teams are coming back out to that part of the field. Boos cascading down on the officiating crew.
I'd be interested if Holly could find out what this conversation is about. I can think of a couple things. You're not allowed to interlock your feet as offensive linemen prior to the ball being snapped in field goal protection. The other thing, if the wings are not off the line of scrimmage, if they're in the neutral zone, not behind the plane of the offensive tight ends.
Panthers had to rush to get their snapper onto the field. And look at that. The third time, definitely not a charm. They missed the extra point. So it's 14-6. A vital extra point gone wide. We'll be right back. Pittsburgh players somewhat dejected after that last transpired series down there. I mean, geez, they ended up kicking the extra point 3 times, missing on the final attempt. And it stands 14-6. David Abdul to kick off. Thomas. Terrence Thomas brought down at the 27-yard line by Torrey. Holly Rowe, what exactly happened with those extra point attempts?
Well, guys, the word from the officials right now is that it was 3 illegal formations. The Pitt coaching staff was talking to the official all through that timeout, and they were trying to find out exactly what the problem was. They're confused by the lining up of their players, how it was illegal. Hopefully the officials got that resolved. Also, Rod Rutherford with a very emotional outburst after his touchdown. He ran to the crowd as he was running off the field and gave them the throat-cutting signal. He went to his receivers and said, "Worry about the crowd, forget them. They've been booing us since the first half. We just have to go out there and play for ourselves."
Well, Pittsburgh taking on an us against the world mentality. Dustin Long in at quarterback, throws behind his receiver, Terrence Murphy. It'll be 2nd down and 10. And here's a look at what Holly was referring to with Rod Rutherford coming off the field. You know, sometimes emotion gets the best of people.
Mark, one thing, I'm not sure people appreciate how much effort and how much these young players do it. There's a lot of pressure on a young quarterback. But this I have for Rod Rutherford. Worry about what happens on the football field. You're not going to win the battle with concerning yourself what the crowd thinks.
2nd and 10. Dustin Long passes complete to Taylor. Tiptoes out of bounds up at the 41-yard line. Mike Tirico, what's up? Good game. All right, Mike, Illinois was a tough act to follow. Off the heels of last year's successful season. Kicking a quarterback. 1st down and 10. Backs onto the eye. Farmer. Tackled at the 46. Tez Morris made the stop. They're going to rule him down before the loose ball.
Derek Farmer once again on the outside stretch play. You're going to see the safety, Tez Morris, come up and really sell his body out and submarine the ball carrier, Derek Farmer. Tez Morris is not very big. He may be 5'8", but Pitt coaches told us he loves to come up and run support. Knowing Derek Farmer, I think that was a good decision by Tez to go low and take his legs out.
Great collision, 2nd. Dustin Long on the post. Incomplete, dropped by Terrence Murphy. He had a step on Torrey Cox, and Long laid it right in there.
Both coaches talked yesterday, when you get a chance for a big play against these defenses, you better make it. Here you're going to see Terrence Mofrey on the little fake corner route back to the post. Torrey Cox once again closing. The thing I don't like right there is you see Torrey Cox, he's looking back to the football, and Terrence Murphy is ahead of him in the race. When you're behind, you're better off driving to the receiver. But Terrence Murphy, 2 big drops here in the second half for A&M.
And watching from the sidelines now, 3rd down. Little receiver screen complete this time to Thomas, who has the first down, quieting the crowd at the 46-yard line.
Mark Dustin Long taking advantage of his opportunity. Everyone knows the young freshman is next in line, and if Dustin Long doesn't take advantage of his opportunities, R.C. Slocum's going to go with him. But you have to give Dustin Long credit right here. He's shown a lot of poise. He's made some big 3rd down throws, and I think it's imperative that A&M's offense keeps this football right now.
The man under the towel is the heralded freshman McNeil. Right now, he's forced to watch because Long has the reins and doing well with them. Flag down, and Goins brought down just shy of the 40-yard line. Now, Pittsburgh coming off of that touchdown, albeit the missed extra point. We have not yet spoken about the tremendous facilities here provided for by the Pittsburgh administration. A great marriage between the University of Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Great facilities. We saw 4 practice fields, great weight rooms, everything top class.
Steve Peterson and the administration here at Pittsburgh has done a tremendous job with facilities. One of the neat things for me is having a chance to look around at different places that I hadn't had the chance to see. Pittsburgh's facilities are second to none. And also, you have to remind the people yesterday, what was Holly most impressed about going into the new facility?
Training table?
No, that too. So were you and I. But the Steelers' cars,
yes.
All those expensive cars we saw sitting out in that parking lot.
Oh, man. BMWs, Bentleys, convertibles, and all in the shadows of downtown Pittsburgh.
We still haven't figured out who that Bentley belongs to.
Well, it wasn't Coach Harris's. We figured that out. A timeout. A&M.
Mark, the penalty. The penalty. RC's hair is already white. Right there on 1st and 10. Set them back.
There's a little snow on the mountain, but fire in the furnace for RC. You got it. The game that we practiced better this week, and you can't fool the troops. This is Texas A&M with superior athletes to the ones from a week ago. No disrespect to Ohio. We must improve from a week ago. Right now, on defense, A&M with the ball 1st and 20. Long with a waggle. Incomplete at the 38, intended for Taylor. He's working on Torrey Cox, and RC talked about penalties. So far, it's been a big story today.
It's hard to gain rhythm. It's hard to gain confidence when you're a penalized football team, particularly on offense. Last week against Louisiana Lafayette, 16 penalties in the first football game. Today already, with 11 minutes and 45 seconds left, 10 penalties. It's hard to stay on rhythm when it's 2nd down and 20 because of penalty.
11:45 to go. Pittsburgh blitzing off the corner. Long. Boy, he's kind of nimble, isn't he, Bob? Made something out of nothing there. Got out of trouble up to the 48-yard line. Folks, tonight, 7:45 Eastern on ESPN. South Carolina, number 19 in the country, led by Andrew Pinnock. Facing Virginia and Billy McMullen, the ACC's top receiver. College Football Saturday Night, presented by the U.S. Postal Service on ESPN. Boy, Dustin Long got a little giddy up in his gallop, huh?
Well, he may feel Reggie McNeil chasing him, even though Reggie McNeil's not on that field right now.
Long has been the man at quarterback the entire second half for Texas A&M. Running Dino Babers' offense. 3rd down and long, 12 to go. And another blitz. Under pressure, incomplete. So the Pittsburgh defense remaining stout. Intended for Taylor. And it'll be 4th down.
Once again, We may be setting an NCAA record right now for free safety blitzes. You see the free safety and the linebacker coming. They had the one-on-one matchup on the corner, but the ball was underthrown by Dustin Long because of the pressure. But Marks, I don't know if I've seen more safety blitzes than this game.
They're bringing it. Skates punt, bounces at the 20, takes a Pittsburgh bounce. Back to the 23-yard line and back to our magna cum laude in the studio, Mr. Syracuse, Mike Tiriga. So he's not magna cum laude. When I graduated, I said, thank you, Laude. 1st and 10. Wilson, the tight end in motion. Rutherford keeping it himself. Got about 4, brought down by Sammy Davis. And let's go downstairs to Holly Rowe.
Well, guys, as we've been watching this Pitt defense unfold today, I have to say I'm pretty impressed. I asked their defensive coordinator, Paul Rhodes, if they had a fancy nickname like Wrecking Crew. He said, no, we're working on one, but we're not ready to roll it out just yet. But I will tell you, in their defensive meeting room, their motto for the season is 11 as one. And, guys, I would certainly say they've lived up to that today, playing very unified on defense.
Yeah, they've been pretty stout, Holly. 2nd down and 6. Their offense with the ball. Just got the play off. Give us to the tailback. Out near the 30-yard line, about the 29. It'll be 3rd down, about 4 to go. Morris making the stop.
Mark, I think you can really see the development of Rod Rutherford right now. That first play on 1st and 10 was a predetermined quarterback run that a lot of people across the country are doing. You see his athleticism, and when he gets some confidence and has some good things happen, I think he has a tremendous upside. And I can see why Walt Harris speaks so highly of him.
Harris gave the quarterback his vote of confidence earlier in the week when people were trying to stir up a controversy at the position. 3rd down and 4. Complete and a 1st down. Rutherford delivering a rope to Lamar Slade, working on Sean Weston.
Just a great throw by Rod Rutherford. And you're going to see Larry Slade. There's nothing complicated about it. It's straight man-to-man coverage. He just runs a comeback route. Probably the toughest route to defend is when the receiver heads down the field and stops and comes back to the football on a predetermined comeback route. Once again, I am impressed with Rod Rutherford right now.
1st down and 10 for the Panthers. Those are the ball at the 37-yard line. Rutherford picked off. Axel. The 2nd turnover of the day.
That is a shame for Pittsburgh and Rod Rutherford. He had all day to throw the football. They took the back in motion, went 4 vertical against 3 deep, and he just simply overthrew the football. Really looks like Mark, like he threw off his back feet. But you're going to see 3 deep, the middle safety. That's stealing right there. That is stealing. But once again, the young quarterback throws off the back foot, overthrows it, and a big, big turnover right there for Texas A&M.
He had completed, Bob, his last 8 passes in a row before that pick. 1st and 10. Farmer, the deep back out of the eye for the Aggies. Long hands it off to Farmer. Farmer with a nice run. The 26-yard line, about a yard short of the 1st down, and that secondary for the Wrecking Crew really locking down those Pittsburgh receivers.
Mark, when you put it in perspective, 10 turnovers last week against Lafayette, 6 interceptions, every member of the secondary having an interception, and then coming back today with another interception. That's some all-time stats right there.
No doubt. Probably the best in A&M history, at least one of. You're someone that could arguably speak to that. 2nd down and 1. Long, incomplete, intended for Johnson, broken up by Shante Spencer.
Great break on the ball by Shante Spencer. Interesting call right there. 2nd and 1, somewhat of a waste down. They go ahead and throw the football. Now, one thing I'll promise you, this will be a run on 3rd and 1. They will come back and run the football here.
A lot of times Joe Weber is the short yardage guy. Farmer's been running the ball well. They've got an abundance of guys to choose from. Backs line up out of the eye. Farmer. Oh, it's going to be close. Derek Farmer brought down right near the 35-yard line.
I think you saw on that 2nd down and 1, Mark, something R.C. Slocum is really working on, and that's not becoming too conservative. Sure, you could have lined up and ran the football, but to allow Dustin Long to throw it on 2nd and short with a potential big play is something that I think is going to help this offensive football team down the road.
Here's something that's not conservative. 4th down and short. They're going to go for it. With an 8-point lead with just under 8 minutes to go now. R.C. Slocum going to roll the dice a little bit.
Once again, a freshman kicker that was 1 for 5 last week impacts this call.
They give it to Weber, the fullback, and he's stopped up. The Pittsburgh defense up the middle. Dan Stevens leading the charge. And the Panthers take over on down.
A little bit of payback right there by the Panthers. A&M has stopped Pitt twice on 4th and short. It's Pittsburgh's turn to come back and make a big 4th down stop. Here you see the penetration up front. Fullback Joe Weber is stopped. No question he was short. Mark, that's an interesting decision that I think we should talk about. Obviously, A&M ahead by 8 points. A field goal is huge right there. But that was impacted because R.C. Slocum does not have great confidence in his freshman kicker, who was 1 for 5 last week.
Yeah, Todd Pegram really struggled against Louisiana Lafayette. 1st down and 10, coming back the other way. Rutherford back to pass and sacked at the 22-yard line. Number 43, Gerard Penright, the Butkus candidate.
A&M, a great legacy of blitzing outside linebackers. Here you see Penright on the blitz. Pittsburgh came back to the same play of the interception, tried to get 4 vertical, but they didn't account for the outside linebacker, Jared Penright. Penright, 10 sacks last year, has a chance to be an outstanding NFL football player.
Kevin Smith told me you were partial towards those outside linebackers and DBs.
Just cover them up, Kevin. Just play man-to-man coverage out there.
Money guys, you call them. 2nd and 13. Rutherford. Oh, what a grab. Complete at the 35-yard line, right at the 1st down marker. Slade was working on Weston.
Wow. Rob Rutherford shows his arm strength right there to step up right there. And Larry Slade, once again, 3 deep zone. Larry Slade breaks the route off in front of the corner, Sean Weston. And that was a big-time throw right there by the quarterback. And you see Walt Harris's offense. They do a lot of converting routes by the receivers down the field based on what the coverage was. So Sean Weston played off, playing 3 deep, soft zone. They converted the route right at the 1st down stakes.
And they did get the 1st down. Talked about the Walt Harris offense last year. Of course, they started out with a spread offense, didn't quite work out. And to the coaching staff's credit, they realized what was happening and rectified the situation and ran the table last part of the season. We're here at Heinz Field, Pittsburgh, PA, in the shadows of downtown Pittsburgh. Texas A&M taking on Pittsburgh. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davey and Holly Rowe. The Panthers with the ball. 1st down and 10 just beyond the 45. They trail by 8. Rod Rutherford, the quarterback for Pittsburgh, has looked like a different quarterback in the 2nd half.
I wouldn't be surprised if some kind of razzle-dazzle play right here. Seems to be a lot of confusion.
Rutherford completes it. Fitzgerald still on his feet at the 43. Boy, that's an exciting freshman, isn't it?
He is fun to watch. Once again, Larry Fitzgerald, once again the corner playing off. He breaks it off. Anytime you play off coverage, the difficult thing is for the corner to come up and make the tackle with that kind of space.
They really speak highly of this guy, and although you don't want to give a freshman too much too soon, it's hard not to really beam about his talent. 2nd down and 4.
Mark, I'm not sure Pittsburgh shouldn't pick the tempo up right now. They're taking a little bit too long in the huddle. They're going to need a couple more scores to win this football game.
Yeah, Myrie that time, positive yardage. Out to the 47-yard line, brought down by Gamble. Look at our game track so far. Farmer with a couple of rushing touchdowns. Rutherford in the second half, 12-16, with 111 yards passing. First down and 10 with 5:38 to go now.
Let's go, Pitt!
Three-receiver formation for Pittsburgh.
I don't think you'll see A&M sit back much longer. It's about time to come after him here on some kind of a blitz.
Rutherford audibling at the line. Myrie with a nice hole. Right up the gut and another first down at the A&M 36 and a late flag on the play. A 17-yard gallop by the Alabama transfer, Brandon Myrie.
And do you think back right now to the extra point? There's 3 tries and the missed extra point.
Smith.
We're going to tack on a few more yards.
5-yard penalty. Tacked on at the end of the run. First down.
Great run by Brandon Myrie. Real good vision as he cuts back against the grain. There you see the face mask. I believe it's number 48, the strong safety, Keel, that comes in and inadvertently grabs the face mask.
First down and 10. Nose of the ball resting on the 32. Myrie still the tailback in. Fitzgerald in motion. Myrie stopped up after a gain of about 2 on the play. Coming up after the game, it's College Game Day scoreboard show presented by Acura with Mike Tirico and Trev Alberts in the studio. A Big Ten update. Big games with Ohio State and Michigan, Purdue and Notre Dame as well in action. And all the scores from around the country on a busy Saturday afternoon in college football. What a beautiful day, picturesque day here in Pittsburgh, Bob. And you're a fan of both teams and both sides here. Pittsburgh
it's a neat matchup. I mean, this is an intersectional matchup, and you have a team from the Southwest playing a team from the East, and it looks like we're going to have a great finish here.
Second down and 8. Rutherford into the end zone. Incomplete through the arms of Bynes.
I'm not sure if you're Rod Rutherford, if you're going to throw one of those jump ball situations, that you wouldn't be better off throwing it to Lamar Slade or Larry Fitzgerald, who's 6'3" or 6'4". Roosevelt Bynes is a peanut. He's about 5'8", and once again, a great effort out there. Actually had a chance to catch that football. But if you're going to throw the jump ball, go to the big, tall basketball players, Mark.
All right, well, this time, Bynes lines up wide to the top of your screen, Slade to the bottom, Fitzgerald in the slot. Third down and 8. They're going to rule it complete. Just shy of the 25-yard line, about 3 yards short of the first down. Decision time now for Walt Harris once again on 4th down. They haven't had a lot of success today on 4th downs.
Well, and so many things impact this decision. It's a 42-yard field goal. They have a freshman kicker who's their deep kicker. And I think Pittsburgh has a little bit of momentum right now offensively. It's Walt's call. I go with Walt's call. I like the decision right here.
They got to get just beyond the 22. They're 0 for 2 on 4th down today.
You have to feel like Larry Fitzgerald, the big wide receiver, matched up in the slot.
Rutherford. They threw it up for him. Good call. Down to the 17 and a first down, Pittsburgh.
It's really a pretty simple game. You take Larry Fitzgerald, the big, tall wide receiver, match him up on Sammy Davis. He's the best coverage defender on the field, man-to-man, but he's only 5'11" against a 6'4" receiver.
Fitzgerald grew up as a ball boy working for the Minnesota Vikings. Watch guys like Chris Carter and Randy Moss making great catches, so had some pretty good role models. 10th play of the drive coming up. Good stats by Fitzgerald today.
At some point, Pitt has to come back to that bootleg pass with the tight end on the crossing route that they had called back on the penalty a little earlier.
Handed off to Myrie down to the 15-yard line. Got about 2 on the play. Stopped up by Everett Smith, number 42 of the Aggie defense. 2:41 to go here in the 4th quarter.
Pittsburgh has 3 tailbacks, but it seems like Brandon Myree seems to be the tailback that's grasping that job right now.
Haven't seen any of Kirkley today. Both teams with 2 timeouts remaining. 2nd down and 8. Fitzgerald in motion.
Mark, you know it's 4-down territory now.
Gotta be. A&M coming with pressure. It's a jump ball for Slade. And a flag on the play. They were working on Sammy Davis. Boy, they have shown no apprehension about going after him today.
Well, and I think you're going to see Sammy Davis has great coverage. The problem, once again, he tries to look back to the football, but he gets tangled up with Larry Slade. Bottom line, he interfered with Slade, Lamar Slade, trying to come back to the football.
On a defense, in the end zone, the ball be placed on a 2-yard line, 1st down.
1st and goal to go.
Mark, let's go back once again. 3 opportunities to kick the extra point. They miss on the 3rd opportunity. It's amazing how those things come back and haunt you.
Yeah, they called it an illegal shift on Pittsburgh. 1st and goal. Polite and Myree, the backs. Rutherford. Touchdown. He hung on, Wilson.
You are seeing the evolution of a young quarterback. These Pittsburgh fans right now, there's no booing. That's Terry Bradshaw out there to them wearing number 12 right now.
He turned the beat around. And now Rod Rutherford and the offense will go for the 2-point conversion to tie the game up.
You have talked about this all week if you're the coaches at the University of Pittsburgh. One of the things you do is have a script or a menu of your favorite 2-point plays. You notice they moved the ball over towards the right offensive hash mark. That means you're going to see Rod Rutherford moving out to his left, probably giving him an option to run or throw. Once again, I look to Larry Slade right here.
Bynes is lined up to the bottom of your screen. Slade to the top. Fitzgerald, the motion guy, now in the slot. Rutherford, incomplete, and it stays 14-12, intended for Fitzgerald. That time, Davis broke it up. So Pittsburgh looking at a 2-point deficit when we come back. The head coach of Pittsburgh, his team down by 2. Looking at an onside kick right now. Abdul doing the honors. And a flag down in the play.
I believe it's offsides.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Taylor got the ball. Didn't really have much of a choice. Both teams with 2 timeouts remaining. And the Aggies going to have the ball in Pittsburgh territory. 1st down and 10. And R.C. Slocum's team looking to salt this one away.
On the kicking team, didn't have enough players on the one side of the kicker.
It's been a game of technicalities.
Special teams technicalities.
Yep. An illegal shift was the call against Pittsburgh, which made them kick the extra point over twice, eventually missing the 3rd one.
If you noticed on those extra points, Pittsburgh lined up in a bizarre formation early to make A&M adjust. Then they shifted. The only thing I can think of is there was an illegal shift in that situation right there.
1st down and 10 from the 43 for the Aggies. Long hands it off to Farmer. Farmer brought down at the the 37-yard line. Folks, we salute the 13th Military Police Company as they work hard to protect Camp Darby in Livorno, Italy. Thanks for following all of the action on the American Forces Network. And at this time, Bob and I and Holly would like to, and the rest of the gang would like to send out our thoughts and prayers to those protecting our interests domestically and abroad.
Mark, I'm disappointed that Reveille didn't make that trip up to Pittsburgh with the Aggies.
Traveling's tough on those dogs, man.
Yeah.
These guys made it, though.
The yell leader.
Doing the yell leaders, all those signals.
But an interesting story about Reveille, that's the mascot, a collie. There's actually one of the members of the Corps of Cadets that is voted on to be responsible for Reveille all semester. And he actually takes Reveille to class. Reveille stays in his room with him. He takes him home if he goes home for the weekends. And the story is, if Reveille barks in class, that the class is dismissed.
Hey, that's a good deal.
And you can just picture, I always used to kid our players about taking like artificial cats and stuff to class, trying to get Reveille to bark so they could get out of class early.
Be trying to book Reveille in all of my classes. Just one of the many great traditions at Texas A&M University, along with what, fish camp you were mentioning, with the freshmen going on a little orientation, learning how to do all those yell leads and cheers. And
A&M is a unique place. It started as a military school. It was all male until the mid-70s. Now it's 42 or 43,000, but it still has that military presence on campus.
They have made the trip from College Station, made their voices heard. And so has their team, 2nd down and 5. Handoff is to Farmer, who's carried the bulk of the rushing attack today down to the 36-yard line, brought down by Tez Morris and Dan Stevens. You know, the last time these two teams played, we have a timeout down in the field. Told you earlier, it was the John Hancock Bowl in '89. Pittsburgh racked up 530 yards total offense. Alex Van Pelt, 44-yard touchdown pass, and Bob Davie was on the sidelines just dying on this one, folks. Believe me when I tell you. What was the call on that one, Bob?
I guess the honeymoon's over for me at ESPN.
Well, I didn't want to bring it out. It wasn't my call.
I thought I was done answering these difficult questions when I got out of coaching, when I was done coaching last year. But I remember that call. That call was 33 double psycho silver. We came with an all-out blitz, brought the 2 outside linebackers. Kevin Smith, first-round draft choice, who's doing the color for right now for A&M Radio. We locked him on man-to-man, but it was a great throw and a great catch by Pittsburgh.
So nobody like changed the call or anything in the huddle? It was nothing like that, huh? Okay. Hey, what about from a strategy standpoint? If you're Pittsburgh with no timeouts remaining, A&M with 2. Well, how do you play this thing out?
If it's Pittsburgh right now, it's simple. You have to try to strip the ball. You have to force a turnover. If you're A&M, you don't want to stop the clock. Milk it all the way down and then make the decision on 4th down.
3rd and 3. They've got to get to the 33. Long hands it off. Farmer short of the 1st down. The Pittsburgh defense proving to be intransigent on that series, and it'll be 4th and short. Claude Harriet leading the charge for the Panther D.
If you're A&M, you let the clock run down and you go for it on 4th down. Give Pittsburgh's defense credit right there for rallying.
And the clock stops now with 1:10 to go. It's 4th and short. Chain gang showing 2nd down still.
I also think they're going to have to reset that clock and put some time back on the game clock.
Not sure how many seconds we lost, but it did appear that we lost at least 4 or 5.
Put 1:23 on the game clock.
We're going to 13 seconds. Every tick on the clock extremely paramount to Walt Harris's team right now.
A&M can get it down to 59 seconds. Call timeout and then go for it on 4th down. And Pittsburgh then with no timeouts, if Pittsburgh can stop them on 4th down, would have an opportunity to make some plays.
Well, it's up to the defense right now to get the ball back for the offense and then get into field goal range subsequently. But first, this, the defining moment of the game for Pittsburgh. A&M letting it wind down. Now under a minute.
Good decision by R.C. Slocum.
Take the penalty.
Of not coming up to the line of scrimmage. I'm surprised right there. I've got to be honest. I'm not surprised they didn't call timeout right there and go for it on 4th down. You always run the risk, particularly with Torrey Cox and some of those athletes on this punt block team, to block a punt.
Ron Gray and Torrey Cox on the edges right now.
One thing that helps Texas A&M, they have an excellent, excellent deep snapper. He has as much velocity as any young guy I've seen.
4th down and 6. Skates standing on his own 46, his 9th punt of the day. Fair catch called at the 17-yard line that time by Billy Gaines. 83 yards to go. But all they have to do is get into field goal range with 52 seconds to go. Now keep in mind that Rod Rutherford has had a hot hand here in the second half, in stark contrast to the first half when he was under heavy pressure. His primary target, number 1, Fitzgerald.
I hate to get something started, Mark, but maybe the best thing that happened, they booed him. Maybe they have to boo him to get him going. That seemed to get his juices flowing, and he's gained confidence since that time.
Made 13 of his last 15 attempts. Rutherford complete to Fitzgerald. They'll stop the clock while they move the chains on the first down, 37-yard line. David Abdul kicks a 54-yarder in high school.
Interesting to see how long A&M stays with just a 4-man rush, or do they make the decision to heat him up?
Rutherford spikes it, stopping the clock with 45 seconds to go. Now, if Abdul has hit a 54-yarder in his history, that means they would have to get to about the 37-yard line.
David Abdul, a true freshman kicker, last year in the Pennsylvania-Ohio State All-Star game, the Big 33 Classic, kicked a 50-yard field goal. So he has an extremely strong leg. Once again, if you're A&M, cover Larry Fitzgerald.
3 receivers out on the formation under pressure. Rutherford never had a chance that time. Sacked back at the 25 by Warren and Webb.
Pittsburgh has to hurry up. Once again, the front 4 just engulfing the offensive line of Pittsburgh. Randall Webb, an outside rusher, and Ty Warren, the 300-pound inside player.
7th sack of the afternoon for the wrecking crew.
Taking too much time, Mark.
Rutherford, was his arm coming forward? A&M ball on the fumble. And that'll just about do it. Penwright making the hit, and Webb recovering the loose ball.
Gerard Penwright on the inside move beats the offensive tackle underneath. And one thing you'll notice, A&M, a great tradition of taking their outside linebackers, their speed rushers, using them as defensive linemen on passing downs. He beats the freshman, Rob Petiti, who is a great player. But once again, Gerard Penwright up the field, then underneath. The great thing in that situation, Penwright did not have to worry about contain.
8th sack of the day, and the most decisive one and significant one right there. We talked about it at the top of the day. It was going to be the defenses that carried these teams. And the Aggies now, with this victory, improving to 11-9 in non-conference games on the road.
Mark, for Pittsburgh, though, there is hope. Their young quarterback showed a lot of potential in the second half. Their young receiver. They've had a great run, 7 straight games. The winning streak is now over. For A&M, I think it's appropriate that they won the football game at the end of the game on a big sack because their defense played outstanding.
Don't forget, coming up next, it's the College Game Day Scoreboard Show. For Bob Davey and Holly Rowe, I'm Mark Jones. So long from Pittsburgh.